Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, sometimes digging through these old speeches, uh, it's amazing the stuff you find that's still relevant to today. And today we're going all the way back to 1973.
1973. Wow, okay.
Yeah, 1973, to this speech that really got me thinking. It's called Youth's Opportunity to Serve
Okay.
by Robert L. Backman. And he was speaking to leaders within the LDS Church, specifically about how adults can better guide and support their youth.
So are we talking leadership and mentorship today with a little bit of historical
A
context?
little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
And to help us unpack all of this, I've got our resident expert in.
you bet.
Mentioned expert speakers, specific area of expertise, here with me. And they're a bit of a history buff themselves and have some fascinating insights about how this speech from 73 is still relevant today.
Yeah, happy to be here. I love finding those connections between the past and the present. It's so interesting. So 1973, paint me a picture. What's the vibe like when Backman's giving the speech?
So picture this, a seminary graduation just brimming with energy. Backman opens his speech by talking about these incredible young people full of enthusiasm, sharing powerful testimonies, just radiating this deep love for each other. It seems like quite the event.
Sounds lively. So he's speaking directly to the adults in charge of these youth programs. What's the core message he's trying to get across?
He gets straight to the point.
Yeah.
He argues that young people are capable of way more responsibility and leadership than we often give them credit for.
Okay.
And he doesn't just stop there. He calls on these adults to become facilitators, not dictators of these youth programs.
I like that. Facilitators, not dictators. It's a catchy phrase, but it also speaks to a pretty significant shift in thinking. It reminds me back then of this whole movement towards empowering young people and, recognizing them as valuable voices and shaping the future. Was Backman part of that?
He was, and he really emphasized that this wasn't just about church programs. It was about applying this philosophy to all areas of life. But he also understood that giving young people opportunities isn't enough.
Yeah.
It's about finding that sweet spot
Yeah.
between giving them enough responsibility to thrive, but not so much that they flounder.
Right, because too much responsibility without guidance can be overwhelming for anyone, but especially for young people still learning the ropes. It's a balancing act for sure.
And that's where Backman's expertise really shines through. He doesn't just throw out these lofty ideas about empowerment. He gets into the nitty-gritty of making it work.
I like it.
He even shared some really compelling stories about youth-led service projects that really stuck with me.
Oh, I love a good story. Tell me more about those projects. What kind of things were these young people doing?
One that really resonated with me was about this group of teenagers in Arizona who basically dropped everything to help clean up after these massive floods. Can you imagine? They just rolled up their sleeves and got to work.
Wow, that's amazing. Talk about stepping up when it matters. You can tell a lot about a person by how they respond to a crisis, and it sounds like these young people had their priorities straight.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the immediate help they provided. It's about what that experience taught them about themselves and their community. It's those kinds of experiences that really shape character.
Right. And Backman emphasized that, didn't he? Service isn't just about checking boxes. It's about cultivating empathy and giving young people a sense of agency. It's about helping them discover their own capacity for compassion and action.
Exactly. And he shares another story this time about a youth committee that took it upon themselves to look after the elderly and homebound folks in their community. We're talking teenagers, organizing meals, planning activities, the whole 9 yards.
No, that's initiative. It reminds me of something Backman said in his speech. He wasn't advocating for just handing out participation trophies. He believed in setting high expectations, but pairing those expectations with the right kind of support.
Right, like we believe in you and we're here to help you succeed. It's about empowering them to take ownership and make a real difference, which is ultimately more fulfilling than just being told what to do.
Absolutely. It's about fostering a sense of shared responsibility for the well-being of the community. And these stories Backman shared, they're not just heartwarming anecdotes, are they? They illustrate a really crucial point.
Totally. He even throws in a lighthearted example to drive the point home. He talks about these teens in California who decided to surprise their bishop,
Yeah.
Their religious leader, by painting his entire house while he was on vacation.
Okay, that's hilarious. And talk about going above and beyond.
Right. But you know what I love about that story? It shows that these kids felt a genuine connection to their community and their leader. They wanted to give back in a meaningful way.
I think that's a testament to the environment those adults created. It wasn't just about dictating rules, it was about building relationships based on mutual respect and trust. And that's where that facilitator approach comes in. It's about creating a space where young people feel seen, heard, and valued.
And that's something we can all learn from regardless of our age or background. It's about recognizing that young people have so much to offer if we create the space for them to shine.
Precisely. And you know what strikes me is how relevant Backman's message still feels today, even though it was delivered over 50 years ago. Maybe it's even more relevant now in our fast-paced, ever-changing world.
Totally agree. It feels like we're constantly bombarded with information, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed, especially for younger generations just starting to navigate it all. So how can we, as Backman urges, empower them to not just survive, but thrive in this complex world?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I think Backman provides some clues. He encourages us to see young people not just as passive recipients of our wisdom, but as active agents of change. He challenges us to trust their instincts, their creativity, their desire to make a difference.
It's about recognizing their potential, not just as future leaders, but as leaders right now in this moment.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful message.
It is. And it's a message that goes beyond any particular time or place. It's a timeless call to action for anyone who wants to make a positive impact on the world around them.
So as we're reflecting on Backman's words and the inspiring examples he shared, what are some key takeaways that really resonate with you? What are you left pondering?
It's funny you should mention that. It's that idea of trust that I keep coming back to. Trusting in the innate goodness and potential of young people, trusting that they have something valuable to offer, even if it looks different from how we might do things, and trusting that by creating opportunities for them to lead and serve, we're not just shaping their lives, we're shaping the future itself.
Yeah, it's like that old saying, it takes a village. We all have a role to play in nurturing the next generation. But instead of just telling them what to do, we need to be willing to walk alongside them, offer guidance, but also give them the space to try to fail to learn and ultimately to lead in their own unique ways.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And it's not about lowering our expectations or simply praising effort. It's about recognizing that young people are capable of incredible things when we give them the right tools and create an environment where they feel supported and valued. It's about empowering them to take ownership of their growth and development, even if it means getting a little messy sometimes.
But isn't that where the real magic happens? When we step outside our comfort zones, embrace a little bit of chaos, and allow ourselves to be surprised by what emerges.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the most important things we can do, both for ourselves and for the young people in our lives, to stay curious, to keep learning, and to never underestimate the power of a little bit of trust and a whole lot of encouragement.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Robert L. Backman's Youth's Opportunity to Serve, I have one final question for you and for our listeners to ponder. How can we, in our own unique ways, create more opportunities for the young people in our lives to step into their leadership potential? What seeds can we plant today that will help them blossom into the compassionate, courageous, and change-making individuals they're meant to be? Thanks for joining us on this journey back to 1973, a time that, as it turns out, has a lot to teach us about building a future where young people not only have a seat at the table, but are empowered to lead the way.